welcome to the Pinnacle Mindset Show. I hope that you guys are all staying safe wherever you are in the world. And yeah, today we have an exciting guest on the show today. We have Andrew Woodroffe. So Andrew, would you like to introduce yourself to begin with?
Yeah, hi guys. Thanks very much for having me. I appreciate it. So yeah, I'm the sort of head performance triathlon coach at the University of Stirling. I've been in Stirling now sort of 5 years. Prior to this role, I worked for Triathlon Scotland on a sort of coaching futures apprenticeship, just again coaching high performance triathlon. So, and yeah, being a bit of a triathlete myself, still dabble, try and keep up with the guys. But yeah, it's kind of all about triathlon and sport at the moment.
Yeah, that's amazing. So first and foremost, how did you get involved with triathlon?
Yeah, it's a funny one. Not many people believe this, but growing up, I played rugby. I just enjoyed all sorts of sports. And then when I went to university, everyone was getting bigger for rugby and I wasn't. So I actually took up rowing for the first time, just like a endurance sport. Really appealed to me. You know, the guys worked hard and there was just a nice atmosphere around it. And when we were rowing, we did a lot of cycling, cross training. I'd always done a bit of running and I could swim. I've also done quite a lot of surfing. And I was down in university in Plymouth, so down the southwest of England, and they had this thing, the Cornish Triathlon series, and I remember just entering a triathlon and thinking I'll get through it. I think I borrowed a bike. I did borrow a bike, a bit too big, and all the usual stuff, like just absolute chopper. I had no idea what to wear, and I did it. I absolutely loved it. I think I was like podiumed or I won or something, and it was just like, oh, okay, I really enjoy this, and it was just hard, really hard. So that I just, from there, like triathlon's quite obsessive. You get quite hooked. So got really, really into it and just wanted to get better and better and, go the longer distances. And then I suppose that led to me in a way coaching because I was like, I really like this sport and I want to kind of be involved in it. I did do like a bit of a year full time trying to do the sport. I lived out in Mallorca at the best centre, which was good. It's a good experience. But you quickly realize unless you're at the top level, no one's really going to pay you to do it, or you're going to make a lot of money. So that's kind of where coaching came in and led to, I guess.
Yeah, that's epic. That sounds amazing. Like you've been clearly a sporty background all your life. Do you think that set you up well for coaching?
It's a tough one because when I was like at school and even at beginning of university, I wasn't like coaching was never really on my radar. When I was in the rowing club, to be fair, I was like men's vice captain, so you had to coach the fresher squad. But like, that was just shouting at them and getting them to go harder on the ergo. But I liked working with people. I liked things at university like group work, which probably everyone hates, and these things. And when I was rugby, actually, I was usually captain, and I liked, I don't know, just maybe that little bit of leadership. I had a really good triathlon coach and a really good relationship with him when I was racing, and I think maybe I was inspired by that a bit as well. But I wasn't one of these people who maybe when they're growing up or even when they're into triathlon, I want to be a coach in this. It just kind of all fell into place, I suppose. And I probably say even when I started coaching, I was like, is this what I want to do? Like, do I really? And now, yeah, probably do.
You finally come to that conclusion.
Yeah, I think so.
No, that's epic. I think it's so interesting what you just said about how your coach actually influenced you. Do you think as a coach that you have an influence on an athlete's life?
I hope so. I think, as a coach, you're massively privileged that you get to sort of step into an athlete's life and be part of that for, however long or however short. But you should, especially when you're a university coach, that kind of age or period of that athlete's life is like so critical. Like there's so much going on, and if you can kind of help steer and guide that, I think is really, yeah, it's quite powerful. And it's quite a big responsibility because they'll ask you or chat to you about certain things that are way above coaching, or the traditional sense of coaching, but you've got a chance to make a difference. So yeah, I hope you influence. I'd hope to influence for the better. Just like athletes influence you. Some of these guys I've been working with for 5 years, and they've shaped how I am, which is quite interesting. That it is a two-way. Um, yeah.
Yeah, that's so interesting to just listen to. So what challenges did you have to overcome from the transition from athlete to coach?
Yeah, I think you kind of have to understand that not everyone's like you. So, maybe you loved like I like doing a lot of training, a lot of hours, a lot of volume, and I don't see an issue with that. Like I loved like a 5 hour ride. So when an athlete struggles to maybe ride over 2 hours, I'm like, well, how, why, and
Mm,
or things like maybe they don't have that. Maybe they just don't train the same way or have that same drive. Their drive comes from something else. So it's just understanding that yeah, everyone is different.
mm,
And I think just, you know, like I loved racing. I absolutely loved racing. I was okay at training, but I was really good at racing. And when you work with athletes who aren't that great at racing or who are taking their time, it's like, oh, come on, like, how can you not race? Like how,
mm.
they train 10 times better than you've ever seen. So it's just trying to get used to those things, I think. Um, but no, it's interesting. A lot of athletes become coaches in many, many sports. I was fortunate to go through a really well structured program that taught me as I went. Because when you kind of come in day one, you think you know stuff, but you don't really know. You're just going off what you've done. So yeah, it's a continual process, I think.
I think coaching is definitely one of those kind of jobs that you have to keep learning
Hmm.
as you go. Like, would you agree with that? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, and I think every year I probably change how I think about things. Like, because you kind of something fresh
Hmm.
happens, or obviously this last year there's been a lot of thinking time, and yeah, I think you're always learning. I don't think, you know, I've not coached for that long, but I feel like I'm always, I can't. Well, I can hopefully imagine doing this for another 10 years, but you just keep learning, and I think these days as well with the podcasts, books, internet, like there's just so much out there. So you have to filter, but
Mm.
it's not difficult to learn. It's just trying to find what's right for you, I think.
Yeah, right. So you've obviously touched on this year, and I think that there is so much out there in the media about how challenging this year's been for
Mm.
athletes. How's it been from a coach's point of view?
Yeah, it's a good question because um, yeah, I think tough. Like there's no doubt about it. I personally kind of went all in for my athletes. Hopefully, I hope they felt like I was really there to support and look after them through this time, and probably didn't take enough time for myself, or sort of just didn't take a step back. I think naturally when you go through, for example, triathlon season or any period, you've got the highs and lows, you've got racing, you've got recovery
Mm,
weeks, you've got peaks and troughs. Whereas we were just kind of always running like at this high level, and yeah, you kind of get to a point where you're like, all right, where does this go? Like, we need to relax. Triathlon was a really interesting sport where, unlike swimming and some other sports, they just kept saying, oh, there might be racing, there might be racing, there might
mm,
be racing. So you just had to keep going, keep going, keep going. And apart from a few really high key races, some there was none. So it
mm,
was exhausting.
yeah.
And I think as a coach, yeah, I've learned a lot over the last year about like taking time for yourself, just being comfortable with stepping back a little bit. Um, I think people forget this is our job. It's okay to take a bit of leave, a bit of time off, annual leave. Every other job does it. I think it's hard. You kind of always want to be there for the athletes. They think you're always there, which is great, but I think it's just maybe getting that balance
Mm,
between, all right, I'm switching off. Phones off, Training Peaks is off, Strava's off. Um, the athletes I work with, they're kind of elite performance athletes. They're a bit older. They should be all right without you for a week or so.
mm.
Um, but yeah, it's a tough one, I think.
Yeah, I think it's interesting because you hear so much about mental health in athletes at the moment, and there's not really that much spoken about coaches. And I think that we forget that coaches have a massive role on an athlete's
Mm.
life and performance, and that they're human too.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah,
and I think sometimes we do forget that, even as athletes, we forget that as well.
yeah. Like,
Um,
yeah, 100%. I like, it's such a funny little story, but I remember I won't name them, but if they're listening, they'll know. But I was training with an athlete once, and I was just telling them like what my family were up to. And he was like, "Oh yeah, sometimes I forget you've got a family." Like, of course I do. Like, I've got, you've got friends, you've got external hobbies. Yeah, I think you're just the guy who's always there, which is great.
Mm,
I love being a consistent presence, but I think that can be a bit dangerous at times if you're expected to be there every single day of every minute of every day. Because you know, just like a burnout athlete, if you're a burnout coach, you're not useful to anyone.
mm,
And just like an athlete needs a recovery week or time off, you do. And I think also, just as you were saying, as a coach, an athlete might come to you with their sort of mental struggles, which is great. I'd encourage them to, but you have to work them through that. But it is a burden on you, and I don't mean this in a
mm.
bad way at all. But you're taking other stuff on and dealing with that, and then you've got your own stuff, and yeah, it can be tough. It can be a little bit lonely, I suppose, as well.
Yeah.
If you're in a small coaching team, or athletes usually are in a squad, they've got a group, but um, yeah, it's getting spoken about more, not enough.
Mm,
I don't know. I get a bit frustrated. It gets chatted about, but what's anyone doing about it?
yeah.
We can have an awareness day. Great. We
Yeah.
can do a nice tweet about it, but let's do a bit more.
Yeah, no, I'm totally in agreement with you there. Mental health awareness day is kind of my most pet peeve because people post and then the rest of the year it's like, oh, we've done our post for the
Yeah,
day.
yeah, yeah.
So I definitely agree with you, and it's interesting that you kind of have the same viewpoint as me.
Mm.
Um, I'm just wondering, how much support do you get as a coach in terms of someone to go to? With your struggles?
Yeah, for sure. I think I guess it will depend who you work for. I'm fortunate with the university, there is support there if you need it, and you can reach out to sort of certain avenues, officially or sort of unofficially. And there's good people to reach out to. I think personally, there's people I'd reach out to that are quite specific to me, if you know what I mean. Like they're
Mm,
maybe mentors or people I've got friendships with. But yeah, something I always think about is, you're always asking athletes like, how are you, how you feeling, how you doing, and how many times a week does a coach get asked how they're doing. I don't mean
mm,
the athlete should ask that, but just other people around you. Like
yeah,
it's good to have that support. So I think there's support channels there. Do some of them understand fully like the performance coach's lifestyle, etc.? Probably not, but it is unique. And yeah, I don't know. It looks like it's improving, but I think all this stuff still probably needs time. And I guess over the last year, it's probably been massively stretched.
yeah,
Resources are shorter, waiting lists are longer. So yeah, it's a tough one.
yeah, definitely. And I think that, especially in terms of an athlete, I think that the first person that they go to is always the coach.
Mm,
If they are struggling, especially mentally. Um, and I feel like as coaches, there's no training given
mm.
around how to approach that situation. It's very much just like, we'll see if this works kind of thing.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, would you agree with that? Have you received any mental health training or
Yes,
training in regards?
I've received a little bit, again, put on by the University of, I can't remember the exact name of it, but it was to do with that. But I remember when I had a situation a couple of years ago, where an athlete came to me, and I wasn't prepared. I had no tools in my toolbox. I was kind of making it up, which was tough. Not making it up, but do you know what I mean? I was like,
Yeah.
okay, how can I relate? And it the thing is, I think, again, because I work for the university, etc., and maybe there's channels you can direct them to. So you can be like, okay, look, I don't have the answers. I'm not really comfortable with this, but here are some places that are. But I think naturally, because they have that relationship with you, they're like, no, 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 I want to chat to you though.
Yeah.
So like, you do have to be prepared and maybe try and understand it. But I got to the point where I obviously signposted this on, but they're still going to chat to you because they trust you, they've got a relationship with you. But yeah, I think it would be good to, whether it's further training or just understanding certain things to look out for, just to be prepared. And, because it's funny, as a coach, you wear many hats. It's the same with nutrition. Sometimes the athletes come and they're like banging on about specific nutrition, and you'll give them your best answer. Be like, I'm not a nutrition. And I think mental health, we should see it as the same. I can help and support you, but I could probably go this far before. But we need to understand. As I say, they'll want to speak to us because we've got a relationship, and there's trust, mutual trust.
Yeah.
I guess then you need to be careful of what information they want to chat to you about. Do they want you to pass it on? And it becomes a bit of a minefield. So you have to figure that out, I guess.
Yeah, definitely. I think that this is something that I'm so passionate about, is the support that coaches get, because from my journey and my point of view, and if you're listening, anybody listening who wants to know more about my journey, then I have got an episode on the podcast. But yeah, from my point of view, like, my coaches said the right things to me when I went to them when I was struggling, but could you imagine if they didn't, or like if they felt like they didn't? And I think that something I've learned in the last year is that, like, my coach is a human being. And I think it took till this year to like actually realize that. But it's really interesting what you're saying about how you kind of agree with that. So in general, this year, how have you managed to keep your athletes' well-being at the forefront of like training or just general life?
Yeah, probably it's not easy. These triathletes train a lot, train a hell of a lot. But I think just having the conversations with them, whether it's a Zoom or on the phone, I always think it's like, how are you? And that, yeah, good. How are you really? Yeah, no, good. How are you really? Oh yeah, to be honest, I'm not doing good. And just I don't mean keep asking, but just look out for little things, and just ask them about life. Like, I think taking interest at how's home. Yeah, your parents getting on your nerves. Like, just kind of relate to them, and then you might kind of break through. And I'm always keen to just let them know I'm there. Like, if they need to chat, if there's anything going on, just give me a call. And I think as a coach, it's okay to be a little bit vulnerable as well. Like, couple of times, through lockdown, like, I was like, guys, hands up, I'm struggling as well a little bit. This is tough. This isn't normal. And just, I think you just said it, making them aware you're human. Like, you're not invincible, so maybe they feel they can share. And then with all the training and things, I think it's just making sure they're almost doing what they want to do as well as what they need to do, if that makes sense. So if someone's really struggling with like a super structured training routine, okay, let's sort of dial it back, have a bit of fun, go and do this, go and do that. Or if someone's like, oh, I just want structure, okay, boom, I'll structure it as much as you want. At 8 a.m. you go thing. So you just got to deal with the individual, and then trying to keep the group together, I think, is really important, especially that age group. We've had a lot of meetings where the athletes will host the meetings and ask each other how they are, share things, and I think lockdown can probably become quite lonely. So I think it's being aware that you're not alone. Like, if you're having a bad day or a few bad days, chances are quite a few other people are. So yeah, just little things like that, I think.
Yeah, I think I totally agree with you. I think that in the winter I was definitely more isolated, but I think just like virtual workouts with people, like, technology is amazing right now. Like Zwift as an app, like, I've dove right into that like tunnel. But yeah, I think that you're so right in just keeping that community there. So what have you done to keep your well-being at the forefront of lockdown?
I think I've learned a lot over the last year about slowing down. I like to live life at kind of 100 miles an hour. If I'm not coaching, I'll be doing some work. If I'm not working, I'll be out sort of doing some exercise or training myself, then I'll be home, then it's just endless. But it's kind of how I like to be. So I think just slowing down, like taking a bit of time to just not rest, not just sit around, but like read a book, sort of go for a walk, have conversations that aren't about triathlon, and just enjoy the little things a bit more. Like, you know, if it's a nice day, sort of just get out there for a bit and no real pressure. Yeah, I think slowing down is the biggest one, and not feeling like you have to sort of have answers for everything. So, you know, not feeling like you need to, you know, the guys were asking when's the race and what's going on, all this stuff. I don't know. I don't know, and that's okay. We'll make some plans, but we are guessing a little bit here. But yeah, you know, it is a bit of a cliche thing, like take time for yourself. But I think you can do that, but you need to find out what in that time is going to help. So I can't. I'm not just going to sit on a sofa and like watch the TV. Like that does nothing for me. But maybe I'll go to the park, take my book, and sit in the fresh air. That feels pretty good. So yeah, I think it's those little things. Slowing down. I did a bit of baking, didn't do very well. So you know, like everyone, I tried all these like things. I was like, oh, I'm going to do all this. Like, I don't know, learn a language. But yeah, I picked up my guitar for the first time in a few years. I was like, nah. Like, so yeah, I think we all got a bit consumed with like trying to do everything, but yeah, just focus on a few things, I think.
Yeah, I think that lockdown definitely went through his phases of like, it's generic. So like there was the baking phase, and then there was the like, I'm just going to sit and hide in my room phase kind of thing. But no, it's interesting listening to kind of a coach's point of view. And I think that you touched on it a little bit before. And you touched on the fact that obviously triathlon is such a full-on sport to train for. Like you don't have to just train for one sport, you have to train for three. And so how do you go about preventing burnout and preventing that feeling of, oh my goodness, I'm doing way too much here?
Yeah, I think it's not easy. I think you know, you can plan and you can be as scientific as you want. You know, you can measure all the numbers, the data, the heart rate, training load, but I think at the end of the day, it's just conversations and sort of watching your athletes, asking really how they're feeling, sort of figuring out when, you know, you may be getting the signs that they're looking a bit fatigued, or, you know, if I can't see them, maybe just their training's not as good. I think what I always like to say is, you know, you should give a recovery week or have a recovery week almost like before you need it. If you need it, you're probably too late. So I think just, open, honest communication. Because, and, you know, looking at phases of training and, okay, how long have we been at this now? Has that been 5 weeks on the trot? Okay, we probably need to step back. But it's not easy because every athlete is different, and, you know, some might need more rest than others. You know, some don't realize until it's too late. And yeah, just how, because naturally you want to push an athlete, but it's like, how far can you push them? Because once you hit that burnout or that like difficult phase, it's quite hard to recover. You know, I'd rather someone's maybe not quite at the fitness where they need to be for a week than they're burnt out and that lasts a month. So
yeah, definitely. And I think triathlon's probably quite hard to find that balance, especially with it being so much more than just one sport. Do you find a difference between winter and summer?
Yeah, I think winter's a bit of a slog. You know, we're just kind of doing the day in, day out. It can be tough, obviously. You know, with the weather, there's a lot of training indoors, a lot of swifting. You know, it can just be tough. Whereas summer or the lighter days, it's easier to jump on your bike. You know, just get less kit on, easier just to train. And usually in summer we've got the races to look forward to and camps. But I think there's beauty in both. You know, summer is quite stressful. It's quite hectic. It's quite fast.
Yeah.
Whereas winter, like, you can relax a bit. You can be like, I'll just go for a really easy run in the snow. Like, it doesn't matter. So yeah, there's a big difference. Personally, I probably prefer like the late winter, like kind of this period's really nice. Summer's quite hectic, and then the beginning of winter is okay, but it's like it's so far until you race again. And it's like, oh, here we go again. But,
because triathlon's quite seasonal. It's a bit like open water where you very much you can't get in a lock at this time of year yet, unless you're absolutely insane. But it's just interesting the fact that being outside, I feel like it just does something different to your
Mm.
mental health. And I think that's one thing I noticed when I kind of transitioned from pool focused to open water focused is
Yeah,
people just seemed so much happier and they were so much
yeah, yeah,
friendlier. And I think it's just that being outside and not being like stuck indoors. And I definitely think that, yeah, you probably see a difference in your athletes.
yeah, yeah. But as soon as the sun comes out, everyone's happy. And
Yeah.
but as soon as they're riding their bikes outside, and yeah, everyone loves. We obviously we swim open water, but we have to train in the pool all the time. So the minute we can get in a loch or a lake or whatever it is, yeah, it's just a nicer atmosphere.
Mm.
Yeah,
Yeah, definitely. So I end on the same question with all of my guests. Obviously, in a virtual world, if or in an alternate universe where COVID isn't a thing, and you're hosting a dinner party, what
yeah,
three people, dead or alive, are you going to invite?
yeah. It's a tough one. It's funny when I didn't think about this till recently, but um, I was thinking about this question before because I'd heard it somewhere else, and they were like, people come up with three names, but you can need three
Mm,
people who might get on as well. But now for me, probably the first one is kind of a adventurer and sort of just mad all around guy. Ranulph Fiennes. He just like kind of he's done everything from Everest to the North Pole and things. I remember reading his autobiography when I was probably 18, 19. I was really inspired to just do some crazy endurance things. Probably him. Killian Journey, sort of elite endurance athlete, done some phenomenal stuff, twice up Everest in a week, all this kind of thing, and he's got some really cool ideas about training. Um, probably the third actually would be it's quite a different one, but like my dad's dad. I've never actually he
mm,
unfortunately passed away when my dad was fairly young, and I've never met him, and it's my only like grandparent I've not met. I think it just have been really
yeah,
interesting. He sounded like a pretty cool guy.
yeah.
Yeah, and I don't know, maybe the three would get along, but yeah, that'd be a good. But I'd want it to do it real though, not Zoom for
Oh
sure.
yeah, definitely. What would you cook?
Oh, it's got to be just like I don't know, like a lasagna or risotto. Just like
Oh
a
yeah,
crowd
something.
pleaser, like one
Yeah.
dish, simple.
Hmm.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. We probably just made all our viewers hungry now, but
yeah,
it's
exactly.
always interesting listening to people's responses to that question. I've had
Mhm.
people say like people like Muhammad Ali, and then I've had people
Yeah,
say like Adele,
yeah,
and it's
yeah,
just
yeah.
been like polar opposites, and it's been so interesting to hear. But thank you so much for coming on the show. Do you have anything else that you would like to add?
No, just thanks very much for having me. Yeah, I appreciate it, and like you chatting about great subjects that they need to be chatted about more. So it's great to have the platform and time to do that. So I appreciate it.
No, yeah, thank you so much for coming on the show. And to anybody listening, how would they find you?
Yeah, I mean, you can find me on just social media, it's just Andrew Woodroffe. But yeah, if you want to find the squad, it's at Sterling HB Try. We're fairly good on social media, a few videos and pictures and stuff. And yeah, hopefully we'll have a race season to come up and have a look at as well. So yeah,
Yeah.
give us a follow.
Yeah, amazing. Well, thank you so much for your time. And to everybody listening, I hope you have an amazing day.